In 1952, the paths of two influential Kenyan figures crossed for the first time. Jaramogi Odinga, a respected chief of the Luo community, welcomed a visitor, Jomo Kenyatta, into the Luo Nyanza region. The purpose of this visit? It was part of Kenyatta's efforts to gain national popularity for the Kenya African Union, or KAU. You see, the KAU was heavily populated by members from the Kikuyu community, with some representation from the Kamba and Embu. However, they knew that to amplify their voice against the colonial government, they needed to involve other communities. And it wasn't just about uniting two communities. In the Rift Valley province, communities like the Nandi were engaging in politics similar to their counterparts among the Swahili in the coast. The Luo community in particular had larger political unions before 1952. The Young Kavirondo Taxpayers Welfare Association, which began in the 1920s, was spearheading the Luo efforts against colonialism. As the chief of the Luo community, Jaramogi was a significant influence. He was an advocate for the independence of native Kenyans. So, when Kenyatta, who was praised for his leadership, arrived, Jaramogi received him well. They agreed to collaborate against the colonial government. This collaboration was facilitated by the 1923 peace agreement. Orchestrated by a Kikuyu politician named James Biota, it united the Luo and Kikuyu leaders, traditionally hostile communities. Biota knew that uniting these large communities could significantly drive the colonizers out of Kenya. After the agreement, the Luos and Kikuyus worked together in various political events and trade union activities, but the weight of their tribal differences remained. Jaramogi was an intelligent man who understood the importance of unity if they wanted to succeed as Africans. Kenyatta, who aspired to be a nationally influential leader, saw the potential of becoming Kenya's president if the country gained independence. These two leaders began a partnership that would later evolve into a fierce rivalry. As the fight against colonialism intensified, so did the differences between Jaramogi and Kenyatta. These two leaders, once united in their struggle against the colonial powers, found their partnership strained by tribal differences and political ambitions. A key point of contention was the formation of the Kenya African Union, or KAU. Dominated largely by the Kikuyu community, the KAU was seen as a platform for Kenyatta's national ambitions. Yet, as the KAU grew in influence, so did the tribal divisions within it. The Kikuyu community, despite being a crucial part of the fight against colonialism, was often seen as prioritizing their interests over those of other tribes. This perception only added fuel to the fire of existing tribal tensions, creating a rift between Kenyatta, a Kikuyu, and Jaramogi, a Luo. But tribal tensions were just one part of the story. The political ambitions of both leaders also played a significant role. Kenyatta, with his charismatic personality and powerful speeches, was increasingly seen as the face of the Kenyan independence movement. His rise to prominence, however, did not sit well with Jaramogi, who had his own aspirations of leadership. Jaramogi was not just a tribal leader, he was also a savvy political operator. He understood that the path to independence required more than just fiery speeches. It required a unified front, which he felt was lacking in the KAU. His concerns about the dominance of the Kikuyu community within the KAU and Kenyatta's rising star only further strained their relationship. Despite their shared goal of independence, the tribal differences and political ambitions of Jaramogi and Kenyatta began to overshadow their partnership. The unity that had once been their strength was now their weakness. The unity that once brought them together was starting to crumble under the weight of their respective ambitions. By 1969, the partnership between Jaramogi and Kenyatta had disintegrated into open hostility. This was a time when the tension between these two powerful figures reached its peak, and their once united front against colonialism had now become a battlefield of personal and political vendettas. The root causes of this breakdown were multifaceted, with differing views on governance playing a significant role. Jaramogi Odinga, a man of the people, advocated for a more decentralized government, one that would empower the local communities and ensure the equitable distribution of resources. On the other hand, Jomo Kenyatta, a charismatic and authoritative figure, favored a more centralized system of government, one that would consolidate power and control within a select few. This ideological clash was not just about political power. It was a debate about the soul of the nation, the direction it would take, and who would steer the ship. The tension between them reached a boiling point when Jaramogi was expelled from the Kenya African National Union, KANU, the party that had been at the forefront of the fight for independence. This expulsion marked a significant turning point in the relationship between Jaramogi and Kenyatta. It was a clear indication that their differences had become irreconcilable and that their visions for Kenya's future were fundamentally at odds. In response to his expulsion, Jaramogi formed the Kenya People's Union, KPU, a party that was seen as a direct challenge to Kenyatta's rule. The KPU championed a more socialist approach to governance, advocating for the interests of the common Mwananchi, the everyday Kenyan, and challenging the status quo. In the end, this breakdown of partnership between Jaramogi and Kenyatta had profound implications for the political landscape of Kenya. It set the stage for a power struggle that would last for decades, shaping the nation's politics and influencing the course of its history. The once united front against colonialism had now become a battlefield of personal and political vendettas. The conflict between Jaramogi and Kenyatta left a lasting impact on Kenyan politics. This deep-seated rivalry became the root of the intricate tribal politics that we witness today. It's as if the tension never dissipated, but rather morphed into an enduring legacy, shaping the nation's governance and political landscape. Their conflict was more than just a personal feud. It was a power struggle that highlighted the complexities of nation-building. It was about differing ideologies, about the clash between two visions for the future of Kenya. Their rivalry set the stage for future political alliances and conflicts, becoming a blueprint of sorts for political maneuvering in Kenya. Today, the echoes of their conflict can still be felt, reverberating through the chambers of power, influencing decisions and coloring perceptions. The story of Jaramogi and Kenyatta is not just a tale of ambition and power. It's a narrative of a nation's journey. It's a tale of ambition, power, and the complexities of nation building.